You ever drop something in the water and just watch it sink? Gone forever. And I'm not talking about your car keys off a pier. I mean $1,000 camera rigs, vital research equipment, or your smart dive computer just vanishing. Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain on the tactical playbook the pros use to find the unfindable.
Okay, put yourself in this situation. You're hanging in murky water, there's a current you can't see, but you can definitely feel, and you're looking for a small object on a huge, empty seafloor. For most of us, that's a lost cause. But for a pro recovery diver, that's just a problem that needs a system. So how on earth do they do it? You know, it's this really cool mix of science and strategy, and we are about to break it all down. If you're fascinated by the kind of tactics it takes to master these tough environments, make sure to subscribe so you can join us for every deep dive. All right, let's get into it.
The biggest difference between an amateur and a pro isn't the gear or even how brave they are. It's the mindset. See, an untrained diver just kind of swims around in circles, hoping to get lucky. A trained team, they take luck right out of the equation. They use a concrete system. We're talking geometry, physics, and a step-by-step procedure to make the ocean feel small and to make sure that if the object is there, it will be found.
Long before anyone even touches the water, the mission's already in motion. Success isn't something you stumble upon down on the bottom. It's built, piece by piece, right on the surface. This is the planning phase, where you start to bring order to the chaos of the underwater world with a solid strategy.
Every single search operation hinges on one absolutely crucial piece of information, the initial planning point, or IPP. This is the best guess, the most accurate position you have for where that item went into the water. It could be from GPS or a good witness's point last seen. That single point becomes the anchor for the entire search.
And check this out, this is a brilliant rule of thumb they use. If the water is, say, 60 feet deep, your highest probability search area is a circle with a 60-foot radius out from that IPP. And just like that, this huge, intimidating search area gets shrunk down to a much more manageable, high-priority target zone.
So, with the where figured out, the next big question is how. Let's head down to the seafloor and see how that plan turns into a precise, methodical hunt, using proven search patterns and some pretty powerful tech to cut through the darkness.
Expert teams don't just swim around randomly. They run patterns, each designed for a specific job. As you can see, a simple circular search is great if you have a really good IPP and a small area to cover. But if you're sweeping a big open area, the absolute gold standard for accuracy is the Jackstay search.
Let's see how these actually work. Over on the left, the circular search is pretty simple. A diver swims in bigger and bigger circles on a line that's anchored in the middle. But on the right, the Jackstay, this is way more systematic. Divers swim along a tight line, and when they finish one pass, the whole line gets shifted over. It's exactly like mowing a lawn. You guarantee not one single inch of the bottom gets missed.
But you know, even the most perfect pattern is totally useless if you accidentally create your own personal blizzard down there. The real enemy in so many of these operations isn't the depth of the dark, it's silt. One bad fin kick can cause a silt out, and poof, visibility drops to zero, mission over. That's why perfect buoyancy and special finning techniques are absolutely non-negotiable skills. So, what happens when you literally can't see your hand in front of your face? Well, that's what's really interesting about what's coming up next. How expert teams can see when their own eyes are completely useless. If you're finding this tactical breakdown valuable, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next explainer.
When the water's like chocolate milk, technology becomes your eyes. From the boat, a side-scan sonar can literally paint a map of the seafloor. Underwater, divers carry these handheld pulse induction metal detectors. They're amazing because they completely ignore the salt water and can find metal buried deep in the mud. And if the gear has an acoustic pinger on it, a receiver points the diver right to it. It's like having an underwater GPS signal.
Finding the object is a huge victory, but the mission is far from over. Now you've got to bring it home. This is the recovery phase, and this is where having a very deep respect for physics can be the difference between life and death.
And I am not exaggerating. I mean, just look at this warning from the Divers Alert Network. Using tools like lift bags to do the heavy lifting for you introduces a whole new world of very serious, very complex risks.
And this danger all comes down to one simple, unavoidable law of physics, Boyle's law. As you lift something, the water pressure around it goes down. This makes the air inside your lift bag expand, which creates more lift, which makes it go up faster, which causes the air to expand even more. It's a dangerous feedback loop. The faster it goes, the faster it wants to go, and that can turn a controlled lift into an out-of-control rocket. So to fight that, every single move is about maintaining absolute control. Pros use the smallest bag that'll get the job done. They use a separate air tank to fill it.
They add air in tiny little bursts, and they always stay out from under the load. And here's the most important part. As they go up, they are constantly venting that expanding air out of the bag to keep the speed slow and steady. It's all about mastering Boyle's law, instead of becoming its victim.
And there's one last little trap waiting for you on the bottom: suction. An object that's settled into thick mud can create this powerful vacuum seal. The amateur's instinct is to just keep pumping air into the lift bag until it rips free, and that is a recipe for disaster. The pro uses finesse. They gently rock it or dig around it to break that seal before they start a slow, controlled, and predictable lift.
So with the object back on the surface, what's the real lesson here? What do we learn from these incredibly complex underwater jobs? Let's debrief the mission.
It all comes back to this, right? This huge shift in how you approach the problem. Success has nothing to do with luck or just randomly hoping for the best. It's about trading a high-risk, haphazard search for a high-success, methodical system that's built on these solid laws of science. You know, at the end of the day, a successful recovery is a testament to incredible planning and serious discipline. It just proves that even in the most chaotic place you can imagine, a system always wins. If you enjoyed this mission, share it with a friend, and definitely subscribe so you're ready for our next operation.
And we'll leave you with one last thing to think about. When you're down there in a world with zero visibility, where all your tech can fail, what is the single most important tool a recovery diver really has? Your compass, your sonar, or your discipline? Think about that, and we'll see you on the next explainer.